Hi everyone. My name is Utsav, and I'm currently working as a senior product manager with the Better India Group. I'm taking care of their mobile application and their e-commerce platform. I have around 6+ years of product management experience. Prior to this, I was associated with Make My Trip, and in total, I have around 12+ years of experience. And I started my career as a developer, and thereafter I moved to product management. So this presentation is something that I want to walk through this entire thought process of how a product manager thinks, right, and uh, how the entire process of this as a product manager, what are the steps that you need to take, in what sequence, and what all things do you need to do. So to illustrate this product management or product thinking process, I want to start with a problem, right? So always remember to start with the customer. So let's say our customer in this particular case is a software developer, and a software developer is wants to develop a lot of so the developers are basically builders, right? They want to develop a lot of new products and things like that. So in order to do certain kind of integrations, they always need to refer the developer documentation. So this entire thing is about the developer documentation and what are the problems that the developers could encounter, or they actually encounter while development, and then how to solve, what could be the possible solutions, how to measure the things and stuff. So mm, so but then in order to be a little bit more specific, I have chosen the developer documentation of Microsoft Teams, and you can simply do a Google Microsoft Team developer documentation, and you will get to see they have explained how to use Microsoft Teams as a platform, and and then build products on top of that. So. Uh, so to start with, uh, always as a product person, focus on the vision and the objective of the company. So let's say, since I have chosen Microsoft, right? So what I'm saying is taking it from the Microsoft vision, which a lot of us know, right? So I've taken the Microsoft vision and I have catered it to what could be for a developer. So the vision is to empower every developer and every dev-based organization on the planet to achieve more. Similarly, the Teams platform vision, again, an extension of the Microsoft vision, is to provide a single hub for teamwork in Office 365. Right. So this is more towards the vision, so that as a product managers we have the clarity on the company objective. So moving forward, what could be the objective of the Teams dev doc? So why do I need the developer documentation in the first place, right? So the objective could be to get the developers off the dev docs as soon as possible. So let's say if I'm a product manager, or if I'm a product person, and I'm responsible for giving this creating these dev docs, right? So what should be my objective? So my objective should be that my target customer is a developer, software developer. They should be able to move from the dev doc stage, which is the learning, or which is the understanding of how what they can do with the platform, to actually building apps out of it. So move them off the dev docs. So in the later part of this journey, we will see how and what are the ways in which we can achieve the same. So uh, as product managers, we should always keep an eye on the competitor. A quick competition analysis of. So mostly the competition revolves around Slack and Microsoft Teams. So there's a short story behind this, that Microsoft wanted to wanted to acquire Slack, and then at a particular time, around 4 years back, and then they eventually decided to build their own product, which launched as a Microsoft Team. So Teams is quite has been launched quite recently, after Slack, so around 4 years after Slack. But then we have seen that Teams as a product, the adoption has been very quick. uh, Obviously, because Microsoft is a much larger company, they have existing partners and stuff. But then what we see is that the developer ecosystem of the third party apps is quite weak, as if we compared to Slack. So there's a big opportunity for Microsoft Teams as well. But then how do I create a third party developer apps? So one of the very important thing is to have a very good or very nicely built developer documentation. So that is what we will talk about. Uh, so yeah, so doing a quick Google search of Slack API docs and Microsoft API docs, you can get these two pages. I'll start with Slack API doc. So just see the first fold. This looks very clean. It tells you the value proposition very clearly, that you can build simplify workflows, you can build a lot of third-party apps and stuff. And on the top, you can see uh, the user's journey has been segregated, right? The user's intent has been they have tried to filter the intent. So you can go for documentation, you can go for tutorials, you can directly go to Slack and start working out, or and there's a very clear call to action. So this page clearly wants you to start building, which as we mentioned, right, get off the dock as soon as possible. But then now we see in case of Teams API docs, right? So we look at this versus the previous one. We can clearly see that this is quite cluttered experience, and there's clearly a lot of things that Teams want. This whoever has designed this page or designed this documentation wants us to do. To start with, something that is occupying a lot of real estate is getting started with Microsoft Graph and Microsoft Teams. Now, as a developer, I did some user research, and I figured out that developers want to directly start using the APIs because they have tools like Postman and other things. So this having this large real estate, right, of a video doesn't make like not sure what exactly the intent is, but this clearly seems out to be not, looking at this page, we can clearly figure out that no developer will take some time to understand what they want to do, and take some time to search what kind of APIs they want to implement, and things like that. So this was a competition analysis. Moving forward to the development stages and pain points. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to segment the users, right? Which is the developers, into like three levels. One is the beginner developer who has a development experience of around 0 to 2 years. Intermediate could be somewhere around 2 to 4 plus or 5 years kind of thing, depending on the learning capabilities. And then the advanced would be somewhere around 5 to 7 to plus kind of years of experience. So at each stage, right, we can divide the entire journey of developer documentation, or as a third party developer, right, you would go at the awareness stage, and then you will know that okay, there's something called Microsoft Teams, and I can develop certain cool apps using that platform. Then there'll be a discovery phase where you would start to understand what kind of documentation or what are the capabilities. Then there's a learning stage. So as we can see in this graph, someone who is like an advanced developer, in most of the cases don't go through a learning stage, because they have implemented in most of the cases they already have implemented a lot of similar applications, and they directly jump to a implementation phase. So what we see is, as a Microsoft team developer documentation, the role of this developer documentation differs at each for each of these developers at each of this stage. For example, for an advanced level developer, at an implementation stage, right? We simply want to provide them sample code and other resources as quickly as possible. So they just want kind of an SDK or something they can download and they can start coding out. They are sufficiently experienced. They know, they have worked on a lot of technologies. They know the common errors and stuff like that. Uh, Whereas, as at an implementation stage for an intermediate developer, we would want them to provide a way to test out the APIs, because these folks are still a little bit at a stage where they don't want to go through that learning curve, but then they also are not someone who would directly jump into a implementation phase. So give them a way, way to some kind of URL and some kind of data, what kind of data is possible, input output parameters and stuff. But then for a beginner developer, they have already we need to, at an implementation stage, we need to give a step-by-step guide to implementation, because they are new. Probably this is their second or third kind of integration that they are doing, and we need to clearly lay down the paths of how they need to implement and things like that. A lot of times the kind of videos also work in for them to initially give them something like a learning and then move them to a implementation stage. So we can clearly see that the role of a developer documentation for each of these stages at Microsoft Teams platform would vary. Now moving on to the gap analysis. While I have interviewed a lot of developers, but as of now, I did not get a lot of Microsoft team developers to do this thing. So I would go with a few of the assumptions. So what I've done is, I have tried to I have tried to pick one presentation so that we can stay focused on where the largest impact could be made. And this thing is that the business objective is that I want to create as a Microsoft executive, right? I would want to create a large developer community for the Teams platform, right? But then what are the user problems? So the user problem is that it's a very cluttered experience. I cannot find the relevant content as soon as possible. As I mentioned, I cannot get off the developer documentation very soon. So and then what is the product stage? It is adoption. And what I've also mentioned, the kind of metric that we would want to move, it is the time spent on developer doc. So clearly, from like, this is one metric that I want to focus. I just want the developers um, to get off, or to minimize their time spent on developer documentation, because that's like an unnecessary headache for the developers, because they want to build. So what could be the possible solutions? The possible solution is something like, what I've done is, if I say that our developers are not able to find the content as quickly as possible. So what all things could I do? I could build a chatbot that simply gives them the most relevant information for them. I could build a manual chat interface, right? There's a manual chat that opens up, and someone who knows about the developer documentation could simply answer the queries. I can revamp the UX, providing a much more minimalistic experience and intent filters. We basically revamp the UI UX of the website where the developer documentation is hosted. For each of these solutions, I have tried to prioritize them. So as I'm explaining, I'm also going through each and every process of the product thinking. So till now, what I've covered is, as a product manager, you need to start with a vision mission, then you have to come to the competition analysis and stuff. Now we are really getting into the nitty-gritties of the solution, wherein I'm prioritizing. This is one of the most important thing that you need to focus on as a product manager. So reach, impact, confidence, and effort, right? It's a RICE, we also call it the RICE framework, is the framework that I've used to prioritize all the possible solutions. And then using this framework, I figured out that probably building a chatbot is something that would be the highest priority for me. So moving on to the user case of the chatbot, right? So when do I trigger this chatbot? So once the user spends a certain amount of time on the developer docs, and if there's no activity and things like that, then the chatbot is displayed. Um, and post that, user needs to interact with the chatbot. So what could be the wireframes, right? Again, as a product manager, wireframing is one of a really important tools to have, because it gives you a way to express your thoughts, right from the developer to the CEO. So as we can see, right, mm, uh, I've used this tool called Mockups, MOQUPS, Mockups for creating these wireframes. And there are several other tools also available over there, like Balsamiq and other tools. So yeah, so what happens is the first wireframe tells me that is simply a pop-up that opens up, that okay, this is a chatbot with some name, and if you want to get quick answer of your solution, then use the chatbot. So on the right side of this thing, the wireframe, it gives me a set of selected options, right? This is something which is, this kind of chatbot has been implemented in a lot of other platforms as well. But then the idea is that user can give a voice command, or user could pick one of the options. These options needs to be targeted to a particular set of developer persona, in a sense that the kind of options that we give to a beginner developer versus the kind of options that we give to an advanced developer would be different. Basis whatever the user chooses, they start getting intelligent recommendations. To probably in a phase 2 or 3, we can also look at implementing AI based recommendations. Yeah, so let's say, for example, if they say that okay, I'm new to Teams platform, right? And then we say that okay, may know that your level of experience. So the user says okay, I'm a beginner. So we say that okay, since you are a beginner, there's a video for you, then there's some link, and then there's some image. Again, these wireframes is more like an illustration. When we are actually implemented, we will really go deep into what kind of information we have to start with. Maybe some things like that they are beginner and stuff, we already have that information, so we don't need to show it. But at the end of it, the objective of the chatbot is to cut down the users time spent on the developer docs and give them the relevant data basis their level of skill set or expertise, and then really expedite their process of development. Yeah, as since everything has a trade-off, right? As product people, we have to always know the pros and cons of a particular solution. In this case, we have to think about the opportunity cost, because building a chatbot is a time and effort consuming project in itself. We could have done, Microsoft engineers could have been put in some other place apart from building a chatbot. So there's a huge opportunity cost. The other way is that the other risk could be that if it's a very advanced level developer, it's a very experienced 12, 15 plus years of experience, then they might really think of this chatbot bot as an additional overhead, because they just know what they're doing, and they just want to know what exactly these APIs are and stuff. Um, the other thing could be that some of the beginner developer, let's say, would give incorrect inputs, or so that could be one of the issues. And also, it's like one more feature in the entire developer documentation. So generally it's an overhead of understanding one more thing. Okay, this is a chatbot, what is this? No one has done this before, so there's no mental model that is created for the user. So a number of trade-offs could be there. Um, yeah, so this broadly covers all the processes that you need to think through as a product manager, and how to so this is like a framework of how you would start with a particular problem, validate that problem, and then set up experiments or try to build the feature, how to prioritize those features, and then how to create certain wireframes and information architecture in order to communicate those features to the stakeholders. And then at the end of the day, always keep an eye on the downsides or the trade-off of everything that you're doing.